Informative, enlightening, provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI. Food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
And welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. Pleasant good afternoon to you. It is Friday, May the 17th, 2024. This is program number 1179 of the Lunchroom. I'm your host, Calix George Jr. Now, in addition to radio 101.1 FM, you can also get us at our website. That is rcistlucia.com. And don't forget, you can download our previous shows in podcast form on that website, on that platform. You can also reach us live on Facebook. Just search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International on Facebook. And please be sure to like and share that as well with your friends and family. The number to call in, if you want to tell us what's on your plate today, that is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. As well, our WhatsApp number, that is 724-0008. You can call in to that number or you can message in to that WhatsApp number. And again, save that into your contacts, RCI, WhatsApp. It is 724-0008. Now, we are noting for our history for today, in the year 1792 on this day, 24 merchants form the New York Stock Exchange at 70 Wall Street. In the year 1803, John Hawkins and Richard French patented the reaping machine. 1861 saw the first colored photograph, and that was of a tartan ribbon, and that was shown by Scottish scientist James Clerk Maxwell to the Royal Institution in London. In 1973, on this day, the U.S. Senate Watergate Committee began its hearings into the break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate Office Complex in Washington, D.C. 2004 saw Massachusetts becoming the first U.S. state to legalize same-sex marriage. And in 2014, on this day, the center-right Hindu Nationalist Party, the BJP, led by Narendra Modi, won a landslide general election victory in India. And of course, 10 years later, he is into another electoral cycle right now. We now move on to our dish of the day. The daily dish is brought you the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. Need all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Jugozi Lanes, and Flag Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program for today. Hope you're having a good lunch. And of course, no doubt we are all looking forward to the upcoming weekend. And hope you, in fact, can enjoy that. Now, we didn't mention it in our history of today, but today, in fact, the Catholic community in St. Lucia marks the 125th anniversary of the minor basilica of the Immaculate Conception, or the Basilica Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception. And that is, it was in May of 1899. In fact, it was at that time the Feast of the Ascension, which in fact was just celebrated last weekend, that that cathedral, which we are very much accustomed to seeing in the center of the city of Castries, was consecrated. And there is a post coming out of Loop St. Lucia News, just giving some information regarding that. And it reads as follows. The minor Basilica of the Immaculate Conception in Castries was ordained, so I think it should be consecrated, on May the 17th, 1899. And the Roman Catholic Church has a host of celebratory activities planned. Cathedral Administrator Father Stephen Quinlan will be leading the services this weekend as church members from the length and breadth of St. Lucia gather for that. And they're noting that there'll be no Mass on Sunday, May the 19th at the Minor Basilica, but there'll be an evening Mass. So I guess it'll be no morning Mass is what is meant, but there will be an evening Mass at 4 p.m. We are inviting everyone to come and celebrate that historic event with us, Father Quinlan explained. The reason the regular Sunday Mass will not be held, he explained, is to allow other parishes to have their regular services in the morning. Monsignor Patrick Anthony provided a brief history of the cathedral's construction back in the 1890s. Construction started in 1894 when Father Tapor, who is known for St. Mary's College and the builder of the cathedral, took a loan of £3,000 to build it. With that began the idea of establishing what would become the largest church of its time in the English-speaking Caribbean, recounted Monsignor Anthony. The minor basilica, far beyond just a religious building, hosts numerous national events, funerals, and chrism masses. Today we have a masterpiece that is being renowned regionally and internationally, and we would like no sort of development that would adversely affect that, Anthony said. Currently undergoing renovations since a deadly fire set to it on New Year's morning in 2001, the church stands tall after these 125 long years. And of course, that reference to the fire was really an attack by two individuals on a service, a church service that was ongoing at that time, that New Year's morning, and in fact led to the killing of two individuals, both of whom were religious, one being Sister Teresa Egan, of Irish descent, but certainly spent many years in the service, religious service here in St. Lucia, as well as St. Lucian-born Father Charles Gaillard. And they both unfortunately lost their lives in that attack. In fact, you would have heard sometime recently a proposal to create a memorial or a shrine in memory of that incident, and to really, in like manner, try to raise the profile of that building and the memory and the importance of that building for the people of Castries, and by extension, the people of the Eastern Caribbean. It is effectively for Catholics the mother church on the island, but as well within the archdiocese. And of course, you've heard different titles being mentioned. So it's a cathedral, which means that it is in fact the seat of the bishop of the diocese. And in the case of this diocese, it was first became a diocese in the year 1956. Prior to that, we were part of the Archdiocese of Port of Spain. And so the Archbishop of Port of Spain had overall control of the affairs of the Catholic Church in St. Lucia. And so in 1956, it was then erected as a diocese and a bishop was then appointed in the person of Charles Gachet, who was a member of the FMI order, Fille de Marie Immaculée, French Catholic order, which came from the Vendée region of France. And they were effectively the diocesan priests sort of in charge of the church in St. Lucia for many, many years. And in fact, Father Gachet was in fact related, I think, the nephew of the individual who predated him, and in fact who helped in terms of the construction of the current building that we see, taking up that block from Miku to Peña to Brazil and onto Labrie. That church is in fact what they are celebrating 125 years for. There was in fact a church which predated that, and that was built during the 1830s. Interesting enough, a very long time, the services of, believe it or not, were not actually, there was no formal church building as we understand it currently since the 1760s up until the 1800s. Apparently there was a wooden church which had been kept, and in fact in most of these towns and villages across St. Lucia, the churches were actually wooden churches. The only known stone church which existed for quite a while was the church at Dauphin, which was a stone church and was known to have survived the 1780 major hurricane which devastated so many various Caribbean islands. It was known as the Great Hurricane. And so beyond that, eventually over time, churches were constructed out of stone, out of more durable materials. I think the oldest known one actually, which we still have some remnant of within the existing structures of today, in fact, is said to be the church at Vieux-Fort. And so later on, and that comes from around the 1790s. And so this current church, as I said, is largely an 1890s construction, but it still does have some elements from the original 1830s church, which was built through, in large measure, by the people of Castries and the priest at the time, a gentleman by the name of Abbé Chevalier. And that part of that church which survives from that period is actually the belfry or the bell tower or the campanile, which is facing the square or La Savane as it would have been known back then. And so in fact the church was a east-west facing church. It was aligned along an east-west axis, as were many of those churches at that time. But when it was time to now expand it, it actually became a north-facing church. And just to share with you a bit of that history, which actually comes from a book written by Father Charles Gachet, or Bishop Gachet, and it's entitled A History of the Roman Catholic Church in St. Lucia. And I read from page 217 on that section entitled Building of a New Church in Castries, Present Cathedral. Reads as follows. As early as July 1885, Father Tapo had written to Archbishop L.G. Gournay about the necessity of a larger church. The actual church could hardly hold 1,000 persons, when the population of the parish amounted to nearly 9,000. 6 days after the blessing of the college, on the 26th of April 1890, at a meeting presided over by Archbishop Flood, it was decided to extend the church to the east, and for that purpose, a request from the town board the portion of Pena Street behind the sanctuary. It must be remembered that the sanctuary of the old church was on the same spot as of our St. Joseph's Chapel, but it was soon realized that there was no hope of obtaining that portion of street. So Father Tapo decided to acquire the lots of land north of the then presbytery grounds along Miku Street, and also some south of the church, by exchanging them whenever possible with vestry lots to the south of Church Lane or Rue Percé. This was done between 1890 and 1893. His idea was a completely new church. At this period, corresponding with the hard beginnings of St. Mary's College, there was a campaign in the press against the French fathers. The editor of the Voice of St. Lucia, Mr. McHugh, was advocating the introduction of an English clergy into the island and the building of a church for the English-speaking section of the population. The French fathers would keep the old church. Father Tapo was much against such a division of the Castries population, and his idea prevailed. There was, however, a last-moment hesitation about the site of the church when, in January 1894, a vestry member proposed to keep the old church and to build the new one on the site of the present presbytery. The motion was defeated. Once a final decision had been made and all land tenants had left the present presbytery grounds, a wall was built to enclose all that space between Pena Street and the college on one side and Miku Street and Church Lane on the other side. This was done in the first months of 1894. The presbytery was moved to that site during the summer months from July to September of that year. During the transfer, the fathers lived at the college. The work cost £148, says the vestry book. Much of this was spent on the wall foundations of the presbytery. In the meantime, work began on the new church. The plan was made by a Jesuit priest, Father Scholes, the Vicar General of British Guiana. He had visited Castries in 1891 and had then made a plan for the extension of the old church. When the year after it was proposed to build a completely new church, he began working on a new plan which was accepted in principle in September 1893 and finally adopted in July 1894. The foundations were laid with great difficulty and at considerable expense on account of the muddy condition of the site, only a few hundred yards away from the sea. The cornerstone was solemnly blessed and laid by the Reverend Father O'Farrell, O.P., on 8th April 1894. This Dominican had preached the Lenten retreats that year, and Archbishop Flood had delegated him to perform the ceremony. At the end of 1894, the walls were 10 feet high, but already funds were running short. To understand the true position, one must remember that Father Tapo had completed the college with a debt in 1890. When schools at Castries and all over St. Lucia had taken much of his available funds. The vestry had made a loan of £3,000, but in December 1894, Father Tapo wrote this to his niece, quote, "I have not a penny left. I have become the greatest beggar in St. Lucia. I beg everywhere, in church, at the marketplace, in the rum shops, in the streets, and though people are poor, they seldom refuse me a little penny." What he wrote was the exact truth, and his Saturday begging rounds at the marketplace have remained legendary. Happily, there was much generosity in the bazaars, collections, and subscriptions, and many people helped freely with the carrying of stones and sand. The moonlight kudme were particularly popular. The work continued rather slowly but steadily. Of course, more loans had to be made, and they were to burden the parish for many long years. But by the middle of 1897, the northern part of the church walls had been completed, and the roof over them had been built. It had been decided to leave the old church untouched up to such time as part of the new church could be used. That was done, and the walls of the old church were then pulled down to allow the construction of the southern part of the new church and the sanctuary. The cast iron pillars and steel roof had been ordered from Belgium. They had arrived in St. Lucia at the end of 1896. Great difficulties, however, arose between the Belgium firm and the vestry, because several parts had not been built according to plan and others were missing. It took months before the matter was set right. Most of the year 1898 was occupied with the finishing touches: plastering, flooring, the setting up of altars, and the decoration of the sanctuary. The purchase of the main marble altar was a problem at a time when already £8,000 had been spent on the church and the debt was very high. But Father Tapper wanted to have a high altar suitable for such a large church. He succeeded in raising the sum of £400 for it. A few generous individuals led the way. Mr. B.A. Mark contributed as much as £200. All donors of £2 and over had their names inscribed on a parchment which was placed under the altar stone. The altar was sculpted by the Atelier Set-Sauvin of Poitiers, France. The main altar of the old church was placed in the St. Joseph's Chapel, whilst its Lady and Sacred Heart altars were rebuilt on each side of the sanctuary. The church was solemnly blessed by Archbishop Flood on May the 11th, 1899, the feast of the Ascension of our Lord, and the high altar was consecrated. The Catholics of Castries could now boast of one of the largest churches in the West Indies, 100 feet wide by 200 feet long. Its imposing structure impresses visitors. Its functional design allows a view of the sanctuary from almost every angle. Its belfry is a happy link with the past. Soon after, a fine and roomy organ loft was built. In 1901, the ceiling of the church was completed, and an FMI father, Father Blanchet, who happened to be a painter of some talent, undertook the giant work of painting frescoes and other decorations on the ceiling and the walls. On July the 6th, 1901, a new and beautiful a statue of Our Lady and Child was placed above the Lady's altar. In 1904, temporary altar rails were built. Unfortunately, the terrible earthquake of 1906 did much damage to the church. Two of the cast iron pillars were badly cracked, but the rest of the building stood the shocks remarkably well. In the following years, confraternities helped much to decorate and furnish the church. And that, as I mentioned, is taken from the history of the Roman Catholic Church in St. Lucia, which was written by the first bishop of the diocese, of the Bishop Charles Gachet, who in fact was the nephew of Father Louis Tapor. And of course, since then, the building has continued to serve the community in so very many ways in terms of major celebrations and events. And back in 1999, on the 100th anniversary, it was in fact raised to what is considered a basilica. And basilicas are titles given to very special churches. For instance, you have St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, or St. John Lateran in Rome, and the four famous basilicas of Rome, and many other churches around the world, which are seen to be very important. They're given those very special titles of basilica. And so certainly it is and has become a significant icon for the city of Castries. In very many respects, the French urban planners of the 18th century almost always tried to place the church in a very prominent location with some sort of green space to the front of the church. And that was, in fact, the case in the case of Castries when it was originally an east-west orientation. And, of course, you would have come in from the waterfront of the time, the Prince Alfred Basin, which was, of course, named the Prince Alfred Basin a little later, but that basin would have been the point of entry into the into the town of Castries on the western side, in the vicinity of where we have the New Massey supermarket and the Peter and Company building right around there. And you would have then walked up the main axis of the town, that of Miku Street, and then to view the square, and then the church on the far end of that square. So certainly it is a very important architectural building, and a building of historic importance for St. Lucia and for our, of course, capital city. So I just wanted to share with you that for our dish of the day. We're going to have to take in our weather report at this time. And when we come back, we touch on some other matters. And, of course, take in some of your calls.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. Need all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also black gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Jugozi Lanes, and Flag Street in Viewfort. Telephone number 453-7939.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island style.
We have tiles and thin sets, pieces and ground. Everything you need is on the house out. For the best price and the latest style, take a little drive down to Island Style Car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality, price, service, choice. It's all at Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Bellarosa, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Castries, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
That's what, of course, on the One Pot Water. It's on time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bar. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours. Winds will be blowing from the east near 18 miles per hour or 30 kilometers per hour. The weather partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy and hazy with a few showers this evening into tonight. There is an advisory in here which reads that persons with respiratory ailments and dust allergies are advised to take the necessary precautions due to reduced air quality. Also, small craft operators and sea beavers are advised to exercise caution due to above normal seas and reduced visibility. The forecast for Little Antilles, partly cloudy and hazy, becoming cloudy at times with scattered showers over the Windward Islands. Elsewhere, fair to partly cloudy and hazy with a few showers. And the weather summary: the Atlantic high pressure system will maintain a light to moderate easterly winds across the Eastern Caribbean region during the next few days. Lingering lower level moisture and instability will result in some cloudy periods with showers over the Windward Islands during the forecast period. Also, a plume of Saharan dust will read this over. A plume of Saharan dust haze will cause a reduction in visibility and air quality across the region during the next few days. And this was a weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bar.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Girl, I've been so stressed searching for the perfect tiles to complete my home. Really? Yeah, it's always the same white, beige and gray tiles with the tile stores. Like they're all buying from the same place. You're the design expert. Help me please. I'm fed up. What are you looking for? Something different. Something that says Caribbean beauty and suits my personality. Something vibrant and classy with a little razzle dazzle.
Okay, Ms. Razzle Dazzle, I know just the place. Island Style Tile and Bath, they're my number one store for everything tile. And with their new In Living Color collection, you'll find the most gorgeous styles to give you that splash of Caribbean flair you're looking for.
That sounds perfect.
I'll even take you myself and throw in a free design consultation.
I'll never say no to that, sis. I can't afford you anyway.
Visit our Island Style showrooms in Castries, Rodney Bay and View Fort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. We'll help bring your vision to life in living color.
And welcome back to our program here at Radio Caribbean International's Lunchroom. And of course, if you want to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And we were just discussing the 125th anniversary of the consecration of the Basilica, the Cathedral Basilica of the Immaculate Conception at Castries. What is the Mother Church of the Roman Catholic faithful in St. Lucia. And of course, a special Mass being held this coming Sunday in the afternoon at 4 o'clock. Now, another institution, which is in fact celebrating its 170th anniversary, they are in fact putting on a very special panel discussion this evening. And I speak to the St. Joseph's Convent, which, of course, is also another Catholic institution and very much known for its work in terms of the education of young girls, of women. And, they're marking 170 years since they've been around. Very interesting history as well in terms of how they started off, in fact, originally having a small group, I think down in Soufrière, in fact, of the PT sisters, or whatever it was called at the time, merging with the Cluny sisters coming out of France, and then establishing a convent, and in fact having convents not just in Castries, but in fact they ran convents, I believe, as well in Groslay and in Soufrière. And so they made a very important impact, as well as Vieux-Fort, I think, at one point as well, in terms of the education, early education within that period of time, the 19th century and into, of course, the current period. And they're having a very special event. It's called Let's Assemble. And it's actually being put on by the class of 1995 of St. Joseph's Convent. And it's called, the first session is on St. Lucian Women's Contribution to Our Development. It's a free event. It's happening up at the Sister Marie Claire Auditorium. That's at the St. Joseph's Convent at Sunbuilt. And it's happening this evening from 5:30. And you're going to have a panel including individuals such as Mary Popo, who's a banking and finance consultant, Bree Lewis, student of criminal justice at the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, Malaika Eli Box, entrepreneur, as well as a farmer. June Frederick, cultural activist, and of course you know her for all the work that she's been doing in terms of keeping our masquerade traditions very much alive. Honorable Dr. June Suma, who's an ambassador who served St. Lucia in many different positions, also a historian, her first passion and career, but certainly been working with the Association of Caribbean States, and as well as once the ambassador for St. Lucia to the OECS and CARICOM, and also is connected to the University of the West Indies and some of the work that they're doing as well. And of course, Dame Paulette Louisi, Governor General Emerita of St. Lucia, and she needs no introduction. They are all alumni of St. Joseph's Convent, and they'll be putting on that panel discussion, which is happening, as I mentioned, from 5:30 this evening. I know it's a Friday afternoon, and some people may have plans to be heading home or to heading out, but this is, if you are going out, this is a good opportunity to take in something of substance and interest about the importance of St. Lucian women's contributions to our development. And I think that certainly is a very important topic for discourse, for dialogue, and it's happening thanks to the St. Joseph's Convent as part of their 170th anniversary of events, which they have been putting on at this time. Now, we just want to touch on a little bit of some of the aspects that are happening in the news. One of them, of course, which has certainly gotten lots of people's attention, thanks to an extraordinary Gazette release, which came out yesterday. And I'm just trying to pull up that Gazette and to share with you that entire matter. Now, of course, this is something that is long in coming, and it is on the matter of the minimum wage. And so Thursday, May 16, 2024, saw a Gazette release, the notice really, it is an opportunity for everyone to provide comments and objections if they so choose, as per the provisions of the Labor Act, Cap 16.04, and just to read as follows. In exercise of the power conferred under Section 77 of the Labor Act, Cap 1604, the Minimum and Equal Wages Commission invites comments or objections on the following draft labor minimum wage order. And the draft order reads as follows. In exercise of the power conferred under Section 68 of the Labor Act, the minister responsible for labor makes this order, and the critical part of it is subject to the subsection 2. The minimum wage is $1,126 per month, or $6.50 per hour. The minimum wage under subsection 1 does not include other remuneration that an employee is entitled to, such as payment for overtime, a share of service charge, a commission, a bonus, or profit sharing. Comments or objections should be addressed to the chairperson of the Minimum and Equal Wages Commission, Department of Labor, Barnard Hill, Castries, to reach no later than Thursday, 6th of June, 2024. Take note, comments and objections may also be submitted via email to minimumwage@govt.lc or minimum.wages758@gmail.com. So if you would like to provide your comments on what is being recommended as the minimum wage for St. Lucia, which is in the amount of $1,126 per month or $6.50 per hour, you can in fact write to the chairman of the Minimum and Equal Wages Commission, the Department of Labor, Barnard Hill, Castries, on or before the Thursday, the 6th of June, 2024. And if you can also email, as indicated, minimumwage@govt.lc, minimumwage that's one word, @govt.lc, or minimum.wages, and then the numbers 758 @gmail.com. That is an opportunity, of course, to provide public comment or to provide comment directly to the Minimum and Equal Wages Commission on this matter of the minimum wage. So that is in fact being the recommendation there. It is that of $1,126 per month. And how would that work out? I think what they would have effectively done would be to say $6.50 per hour, and you assume 8 hours per day, and you would also assume somewhere around 22 days, 21 to 22 days. It actually works out to be 21.65 days, and which is the rough number of days one would be working in a month to come up with that figure. And of course, the big question is it a reasonable amount? Is it going to be a livable wage, as has been touted, of course, and a call to ensure that individuals can, in fact, depend on this. If they could go out and work a 40-hour week, and at the end of working over a month, they would in fact be able to bring in that amount. It also works out to be about $52 per day, assuming an 8-hour work day. So that is appears to be the recommendation coming from the Minimum Wages Commission. Is it too low? Is it too high? And of course, we no doubt we will be getting comments, maybe perhaps coming from employees as well as employers on this entire matter. The issue of a minimum wage has been one we've discussed before here on this program. We've even given examples of what those rates are in other countries around the world. In the case of what is being provided here in St. Lucia, that equates to about the equivalent of about $454 US dollars per month for St. Lucia. And I do believe we had shared sometime back some information regarding what they look at, what minimum wages are in other parts of the world. And we did mention that take for example Mexico. The minimum wage there is per month. It works out to be $315 per month. In a Central American country of Guatemala, it works out to be about $383. In Brazil, for instance, and this is based on data coming from January of 2023. In Brazil, $232 US dollars per month. Chile, which is seen as a fairly well-to-do middle income or almost developed, one of the more developed countries in South America, their minimum wage is actually just $369 US per month. In the case of Uruguay, $424 US dollars per month. So certainly in terms of that amount that is being suggested, $454 US dollars for here in St. Lucia, it would be at a higher rate than almost most of Latin America, certainly. Of course, if we compare now to perhaps places in the case of Asia, the rates are even lower. I think in Thailand, like according to this data which I'm sharing with you right now, the rate in Thailand is 195 US dollars per month. Vietnam 162, Philippines 141, Malaysia 289. And if you would have to go to get higher rates in Asia, you would have to go to perhaps Taiwan, where it in fact is 800 US dollars per month. South Korea, the minimum wage in South Korea is $1,333 per month. You can also look at perhaps some comparatives out of, in the case of the United States, which you can also consider, that minimum wage there right now is about $1,550 per month. In the case of Canada, it's about the same, $1,545, and in the United Kingdom, 1,705. And so, in fact, the countries that have the highest rates in the world are, in fact, largely in Europe, and in some instances they go as high as in the 2,000. In fact, in the case of Luxembourg, one of the wealthiest countries in the world, $2,140 per month. So it is certainly going to be a matter that we have to look at from the context of what can that necessarily provide in terms of elements that people require to survive. And that is the hope, that you should be able to meet basic needs, basic requirements by the end of that period, that 1 month period, and you'll be able to support oneself. So things like, of course, food and shelter being the most critical ones, but of course being able to have utilities covered, right? The cost of providing water, potable water, and electricity, and telecommunication services. Those, of course, are very critical. Transport, the cost of transport, very critical. And, of course, the reality that you've got to provide clothing. That's another really important cost as well. And so many of these things, of course, would have to come together to see what is a reasonable basket of goods. And so the big ticket items, no doubt, will be things like housing, and in particular if individuals are in a situation where they are renting, that obviously would be a major aspect. Generally speaking, the rule is that you should be looking at accommodation being about a quarter or to a third, and to certainly no more than a third of one's income, monthly income. So if that logic would apply, you really are speaking to about finding rental accommodation somewhere about $400 a month. Now, is that reasonable? What could you get for that amount? Many of these issues, of course, will be raised, no doubt, by many to get a sense as to whether that is a reasonable amount. Now, the big issue, of course, in many of these situations, and it's difficult to obviously compare because you have different levels of support that are provided from country to country. And for example, some people may say that look at a country like Antigua and Barbuda, and they would make the point that in Antigua and Barbuda, when you say that you have free education, that free education is not simply ending at the not having any tuition fees, but there are tremendous allowances that are provided to parents to ensure that their children have no issues with school uniforms and books and supplies and that sort of thing. So it really is a situation where you're taking away or minimizing the cost to individuals. And so this, of course, is part of a suite of programs, but it has to be seen within a greater context of what the state can, in fact, do to ensure that individuals who are finding difficulty, especially if they are at a minimum wage situation, that there are in fact other services that are available, public services that are available that hopefully are actually free, that one can in fact access. And so we then have to speak about the condition of our public transport system, the issue of public housing, the matter of public health care or universal health care, and of course the matter of universal education. And those are really important aspects within this whole context of having the providing a minimum wage, yes, but certainly if there is a minimum wage, it probably is. It may still not be sufficient to be able to cover a lot of some really critical areas. And so is there going to be some means by which the state can provide subsidy or top up to be able to support individuals who can make ends meet? But the important issue, of course, is that employers must have some basic remuneration, some basic provision by which they have the responsibility to ensure fair compensation. That is really, really important within this context. And so is it going to be enough? Should it maybe go up another $100 or $200? Some people may think, well, maybe it should go up to about $60 a day as a reasonable amount. And so here's the opportunity, no doubt, for the next couple of weeks to be able to provide some comment and to raise opinions regarding the proposal, which is on the table right now for all, which is $6.50 EC per hour, which it translates to about $1,226 per month. So hope you can chew on that over the weekend and come back with some thoughts and comments in the coming week. And we do hope that you have a very blessed one. Of course, it is a long weekend. We have Whit Monday coming up next week, Monday. So we do hope that you enjoy that Pentecost weekend. I hope it's a good one for you and your family. Please stay safe.